All right, so this video I wanted to share what I'm doing to nurture myself back to healthy, which I still feel healthy. I actually feel really fortunate because I know some people can't handle or tolerate pain. First off, I have a high tolerance of pain, but at the same time, I feel like I was prepared. And over the years, I've been working on chronic inflammation, joint pain, gut issues. I mean, this is a lifelong journey for me anyway. Everything from when I was young, when I was in the military, they took all four wisdom teeth out of my mouth, which caused TMJ. When I was 17, I was in a car accident where I should have gone right through the windshield. But instead, the windshield created a bubble and my head left the imprint because it was like basically a molding of my head hitting the windshield. So when I went to the hospital, I had glass in my hair and there was hair coming from the actual windshield. So, and then my right hip is messed up and it's partially from that because my right leg was straight and it messed up my hip ball socket. And then when I was in the military, there were different times where I messed up shoulders and different accidents, and whether on active duty during my work, in full field chem gear, when I was in Korea, twisting ankles off the sides of curbs with a bunch of stuff on my back. Um, yeah, being on INH, which is a form of radiation, when I was told that I had to take it even though I was not positive for TB. I actually, the test they give you on the arm, the prickly thing, they said it was inconclusive, so they also took chest x-rays. Well, my chest x-rays were fine, but they said, but we're going to put you on it anyway because even if you don't have it, it'll clear it. Like this, I did not know back in the day about the whole dependency pharmacia, magicia stuff that happens. And so to this day, as a result of all of the over medication, especially in the military, they like to prescribe what we used to joke and call vitamin M, which is basically Motrin or ibuprofen. And they so over medicate it. It's no wonder why so many service members who are known for drinking end up with liver issues and it causes stomach problems. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, ibuprofen eats away the lining of your stomach, which may be the real reason behind why I have issues with gluten and that and the glyphosate and everything else. So I can go down the litany of all of the things that I've been healing, but when it really boils down to it, I knew I had to take back my own health when I had done the research and the doctor looked at me and tried to tell me that she was the professional and that even though I live in this body, I shouldn't trust myself and what I was requesting. And she wasn't honoring my wishes. And I truly believe if you ever have a doctor that's not listening to what your concerns are and willing to investigate, now don't be like, oh, I watched this drug commercial and I have all those symptoms. I don't believe that the company should have ever been allowed to advertise on television because that in itself was when the racket really like infiltrated. Because it's the power of suggestion. You hear it enough times, you're going to develop those symptoms. If you are exposed to something, it's called the biology belief. It's the power of suggestion. We've all been influenced by it. How do you think we're conditioned and trained as young children? When we're in certain environments, we learn from our environment. We learn from our peers. We learn from our parents. We learn from whatever influences are around us. So there's no wonder when they say you're under the influence. It's funny how they only refer being under the influence as in drugs or alcohol. But you're under the influence 24/7. The question is how mindful you are of the influences, how in your mind and aware of your thoughts and whether they're coming from within or influenced and penetrated and infiltrated from the outside in. Because there's a lot more of the outside in than we realize. And I've been teaching and telling about this for years, but, just talking about breast implants, the idea that our body isn't enough, that we have to augment it, put things in it, injections, whatever it is. Why can't we be happy with what we came into this life with? Now, again, I'm not going to ever say you shouldn't do anything because it's up to you. This is your body. This is your choice. That's the beauty of life. But I've just learned a lot through my own experiences, and there have been a lot of lessons that have allowed me the knowledge to afford me the wisdom because of the integration of that information. And because when you have the experience, you can learn from it. That's the whole purpose of experience, is to navigate you. Every experience teaches you. You always come out of every experience with more awareness of who you are and what it is that you are desiring, what aligns with you, what doesn't align with you. I mean, for me, I look back to my childhood and I'm very blessed. I was always a curious child. I always wanted to know. I wanted to learn. I loved to read. I loved to be outside in nature, play, invent, build. I always had my dad's tools. I was always building my tree house. I was always in the trees, always climbing the trees, right? So climbing trees, I'm a huge tree lover and hugger, and people think I'm funny, but every time I look up at trees, I'm like, oh, I want to climb that. I don't know why I haven't, but anyway, maybe I need to climb some trees. Sometimes that's all we need to do, is get back in nature, do what comes naturally. So with all these different experiences that I've been through in my life, it has taught me so much about the mind-body-spirit connection. Everything I ever talk about is coming from personal experience. I'm not just talking out my ass. Like I've been influenced and I had to go through it. I had to live it. I had to experience it to be able to come from a place of teaching it. And the more I reflect upon my life, I realize how blessed I am to have had, number one, a mother who was so awake. Like, seriously, like, some of the stuff she used to say, my sisters and I would be like, okay. But when you're young, you don't really understand. But then when you start to grow up and you've already been told and you have that information, and then you see it, you're not blind to it. And then because I worked in the military and I worked in Intel and I worked in IT and I was behind the scenes of a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't want to believe. And I'm not here to, rain on your parade, but if it sounds too good to be true in the direction of like some of these promises made by politicians, it might be too good to be true, because how many of them have actually followed through with those lies that they try to deceive us with? But yeah, even during my military time, it really exposed me to the corruption and the power, the abuse of power. The abuse of power is so prevalent in the government, in these environments, because a lot of times people go into these roles, these positions, because they know they can get away with it. And there is such a thing as the UCMJ. And you are allowed, and in fact, encouraged to challenge authority when it's an abuse of power, when it is at harm's risk, if it is going against the UCMJ. A lot of people think that, oh, well, the military just does what they're told. No, we don't. We're not a bunch of assholes and dumbasses, by the way. And when I was in the military, I got in a lot of trouble because I would question authority, because I would speak up, because I asked the questions. And that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what life is about. Don't be blind to what is in front of you. Be willing to ask questions. especially when you go to your doctor. They don't rule over you. It's your body. You get the final choice in anything and everything. So if someone is trying to bully you or influence you is the other word to use, right? To bully or influence, same thing. It may feel forced, or it may feel like they're caressing and seducing you. It's all the same. So whatever is coming at you, you need to check your body, because your body is always telling on the mind. The body's always giving you the truth indication. If someone's trying to pull one over on you, you're going to feel that. And you need to trust that. You need to learn to trust that. Because if you don't tap into your body's wisdom, you're just doing yourself a disservice. You have to connect the mind and the body, and the spirit is the breath. That's what taps you into the wholeness of your soul. And so it's really important, because how else would you be able to discern what you feel from what you think? A lot of times when we're thinking, we're so caught up in our head, we want to dismiss what we're feeling. And sometimes we're feeling something and the mind wants to go on a crazy tail ride. It's spinning out of control about the stories it will tell about what that feeling is. Like, it's a balancing act. It's a really like, whoa, what is this really about? So even for years, I can't even say my first, because I started going down food rabbit holes years ago. I used to think I ate healthy because, we're following the pyramid, which was inverted and messed up. I used to say, I'll never give up my filet mignon or my real butter. That was my mantra. But you know what's so funny? And this is the lesson I learned because I did that. The universe only hears, I will give up. It doesn't hear, I will never. It doesn't hear the do nots or the never. Where attention goes, energy flows. This was the cosmic joke that the universe played on me. That as I kept saying, I will never give up, it was only hearing, I will give up. True story. I'm the one here telling you the story. This is my life. So even though I thought I was never going to give up my filet mignon or my real butter, guess what? I did. Now, it wasn't because I didn't like meat, and it wasn't because I didn't like butter. It was because I started tracing food back to its point of origin. And if they're feeding an animal food that I'm allergic to, gluten, wheat, grass, then that means it's getting passed on to me secondary, kind of like secondhand smoke, sometimes even worse. And that was very like, whoa, it wasn't about animal humanity, humane rights and all that stuff. I'm totally for the animals as well. But I really had to go, dang, that's messed up. I kept saying I wasn't going to give it up, and I had to give it up because I was trying to clean up my diet and eliminate the problems, eliminate the foods that were causing me issues. It took me a long time to get out of the major brain fog that I was experiencing. It took me a long time for, my face and actually it didn't take as long for the clearing up of my skin, because I can tell you I used to have body acne. When I was younger, I not only had face acne, probably not as bad as some people, but that's dairy, because that's pus. That's also the gluten, because your body tries to push everything out of it. The skin, out of the armpits, out of the lymph nodes, out of your urine, your poop, all that stuff. Your body finds ways to eliminate. Elimination isn't just going to the bathroom. It's sweating. It's crying. All this stuff. So me learning about my body, because I've been doing this for all my life. Back when I was 18, 19, when I first did New Ways, skinny dip, and all that stuff, that's when I first learned about your skin being your largest living, breathing organ. That's when I learned about reading the material data safety sheets, learning about reading the ingredient lists that they go from most concentrated down to least concentrated, and they don't even have to list everything. That your cosmetics, this was back in let's see, I got out of the military. I got in the military in 1993. So 1994-ish is when I was learning all about this and how they didn't even test the cosmetics like for chemical stuff, and that a lot of the chemicals that are in cosmetics are petrol based. And I just want to refer to the fact that petrol is not fossil fuel. Biggest lie created by Rockefeller, by the way. There have been some archaeologists that came out, and I've seen the videos talking about petrol is not a fossil fuel. It's further down under the Earth's crust than most fossil fuel, and it is a second most renewable resource, by the way, after water, because you can find fresh water if you dig deep enough under the Earth's crust as well. But these are things they don't want you to know, because this is about control and this is about dependency. And everything's about dependency, you know? If you're sick, then you become a repeat patient, a revolving door client, customer to the big pharma industry. And doctors are in the business of practicing medicine and cutting you open. So I'm not saying there's not a purpose. I mean, obviously, I rely upon it. But at the same time, how dependent do we really want to be upon them? Are we willing to take our health back in our own hands? Are we willing to nurse ourselves back to optimal health? Or are we going to constantly think that man can take better care of what we here should be aligned and really truly in tune with? Because if we give our power away, you might as well just slap on the wrist cuffs and be a slave to the system, because that's essentially what that is. So, with that said, I wanted to turn this light on for a little bit. A little bright light. That's a little too bright. A little bit of glow. And so I have a little bit of water here because I'm trying to stay hydrated. I haven't been drinking as much water as I have been juices. I tell you, when I got out of the surgery, my arms were super, super sore because they had them in a strange, I don't know what kind of position they had them in, but they were kind of numbed, actually. And my right shoulder was all jacked. And I posted in my stories and my Instagram a doctor talking about basically how many things the breast implants cause issues with, because like mine were under the pectoral muscles. And going under the pectoral muscles, it wraps around the chest into the back. And it affects the serratus muscle and all these different areas that I was saying before. I'm pretty sure this is going to clear up a lot of issues I've had with the shoulder. Same thing with this side, you know. Years ago, I hit my head in someone's car, and as a result, it caused me like serious cervical spine issues that shot down my left arm, and literally I could not sleep on my left side for months, for like 4 to 6 months. I was propped up with pillows all up on my right side. So that's part of the right shoulder issue. It was the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my entire life. It took me 10 visits to the acupuncturist just to be able to turn my head. It was so painful. And at the time, I was the only one who was able to get me to and from work, and I should have been on short-term disability. So anyway, all this video, I'm just trying to reinforce how important it is to really tune into your body's wisdom, to really take your health in your own hands. Don't depend or rely upon external sources, people, places, or things. Because if we were to go back to the days when, well, we're not going to do that. But just imagine if you just changed your diet and your lifestyle, what kind of impact that would make upon it, upon your body, your mind. Your entire life would change in an instant. Because just by being more mindful, sitting in meditation, you become aware of the thoughts. And being an awareness of your thoughts starts to show you the patterns. Because the patterns of the thoughts are what create the patterns of your behavior. And we are typically, our biggest addiction is to our BS, right? Our bullshit is our belief system. Because it is bullshit if you really think about it. We've all got something that we just can't let go of, whatever that is. And it's okay if you're okay with it. It's not okay if it's running the show and you're fighting with it. Then it's time to confront it and rewrite it. So it's very important. So when you change your diet, you change also the way that your brain is affected, because food is the biggest influencer of your mood. So if you're eating a bunch of crap, you're addicted to a bunch of junk, that's influencing the moods that you're having. And I watch people back when I was with Tom. I tell you what, when he ate that yummy nastiness, it was literally like watching him morph into this temper tantrum child. It was the most ridiculous thing. Same thing with my dad sometimes. Love my dad. When dad sometimes eats certain foods, I see his face morphs. I'm just so attuned with my body. I see it in other people when they eat certain foods. And the other thing people don't realize is if you're somebody who eats a lot of gluten, a lot of glue, sticky glue, sticks to your organs. It's not healthy. It's an anti-nutrient. Your gluten, essentially, it comes seeping out of your pores. You end up smelling like a bakery. And I've been around people and been like, holy crap, I can tell they eat a lot of gluten. And I'm allergic to it, so I know it, And I lived in Italy, so I'm very well versed in yummy, glutinous, foods and such. So going back to this foodie thing, though, it's really like if you can't get your food under control, you'll never get your mood under control, because both of them influence each other. So if you have food addictions or comfort food cravings, you have to start to notice those patterns. If you're in a mood, you're going to crave a certain type of food, which is usually your comfort food. You eat that comfort food, it's the same vibrational frequency. It reinforces the mood. And unless you're mindful of your thoughts and that moment you go to reach for the food, then you're perpetuating a cycle. And on that vibrational frequency, that when you aren't paying attention, you're just keeping yourself low in those lower frequencies. So the only way to get out of those lower frequencies is when you catch yourself. Oh, I'm in a mood. Sit down and journal. Get out of the mood first. Confront it instead of run away from it, because the food is to soothe. When you're reaching for comfort food, it's only to soothe it. It doesn't go away. It's still there, because now you're going to perpetuate it because you're feeding it. Think about that. Think about that cycle. It's really important. The more you're really aware of it, the more you can work through it. But if you're not willing to accept and own it, it will own you and run over you and rule over you, and it will dictate to you. And so really, when it boils down to eating, the question will always come back to, are you eating because you're hungry? Or is the food ruling over you and reinforcing the mood? Just some things to think about. Lifestyle changes. It's not an easy thing to do on your own. But you just need to ask for help. You just need to seek out people who are willing to support you. Okay? So, some of the things that I'm doing for my healing. First off, I could really use a massage. At the moment, my neck is jacked. Ugh, I can't. Okay. It's hard for me to sit still. I'm just going to say that. I'm so grateful I'm not in a super amount of pain. I have been really, really tender, and I'm feeling the fluid along the sides of my armpits. So what I try to do is because I can't, it's hard to like reach over across without, I'm not trying to like cause any problems here. So I just gently, I'm just taking my fingers on the sides and just kind of gently massaging up, because the lymph area, I'm not able to jump up and down to kind of press it out, because the lymph area needs like a pumping action. So at least, and I can use my thumbs too. So, because otherwise I can feel it, the movement of the fluids around. That's why I have these. These are drain tubes. And whenever I go to the bathroom, they haven't been too full. They haven't been probably more full than just a little bit at the bottom, but I like to keep them clean just because that's how I am. They could get heavy, I guess. These things are kind of heavy for I mean, I think they're silicone anyway, so they're kind of heavy. But I'm just massaging because it is tender, and especially along my armpits. And that's what I was saying is I have a bicep that sometimes gets out of the little groove on this right shoulder, and oof, it's just not comfy sometimes. And then with the way they taped me down, when I go to stand up, I was saying this to my girlfriend. I said, when I stand up, I feel like I'm taped kind of forward a little bit. So it's a little bit like, and it's a good thing because I don't want to lift up and rip anything open. Um, but like I just, I take my arm, my hand, I can take the inside of my hand. I can't do it so much on this side because the shoulder's hurting too much to do it. But it's like just massaging. When it boils down to it, a lymphatic drain massage is extremely helpful. My sister recommended something to me the other day. She called it Chi machine, if anybody's heard of that, which is supposed to be helpful for draining the lymph, and it's supposed to make like a figure eight oscillation. And I know about the amp coil, which Danielle Page, she's an astrologer. She had an explant not long ago as well, has been using. Um, I have to say I'm really grateful because like as far as inflammation, I feel not so bad. Not so bad at all. I have been feeling the hot and the cold. Oh, it's like I have to pop my shoulder and I have to kind of rotate my arm in and out. It's not fun. Like I said, this is my trigger shoulder. This is the one that pisses me off sometimes. It gets angry at me. So, like I do the best I can, but I'm also, like if I tell you what, I would not raise my elbows up more than what I've been doing, which is about elbows to shoulder width. It's not like I'm going to give high five, like up overhead type deals. Um, so I've been like really mindful. I don't feel like I've engaged my pectoral muscles at all, which is a good thing. I just kind of lightly pat and check to make sure everything is okay. I know there's some tenderness in there. I have not yet. I think tonight I'm going to go in and take a bird bath. Kind of do like a light shower because it says not to get any of the sutures or anything wet, but I can take a shower today. Today is day 3 after this surgery because surgery was Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday. It's day 3. It's just day 1 was the surgery. It's a process. Healing is patience. And what's really interesting, I was having a conversation earlier, and I think this is a beautiful message because it's kind of what I think a lot of people go through, and whether or not you're retiring or not is irrelevant. But it made me think about my dad. It made me think about how so many people look forward to retirement in their lives, working for someone else or even themselves. And I'm going to retire at a certain age. So then you set yourself up for this idea to retire, but you don't give yourself something to replace what you were doing when you were working. And if you don't start transitioning in advance and you go quit cold turkey, right? This is no different because people are workaholics. People work all their lives doing the same thing a lot of times. Not everybody has the changes of their work. Maybe they just stay in the same job over and over and over again. So you become proficient and habitual, and just like anything, you're getting ready to change over into a new lifestyle, you need to gradually transition at the same time. So if you don't give it a replacement, you start to back off on the work a little, you replace it with something joyful, something new, something you've always wanted to do. If you don't do that for your transition and have something to look forward, not retirement, we need to change that. Like if you're going to retire or you're going to transition into something new, you have to have that set up. You have to already be working on it and doing it to look forward to it. Because when you do something new, you create new neural pathways in the brain, and that is also creating its own chemical reward system. All that happy hormones gets like distributed throughout your body. But the brain, you got to keep your brain like youthful. And that's one of the ways to do it, is to constantly stimulate it with something new. You have to give it something new to learn, cross the hemispheres of the brain, keep the neural pathways connecting and sparking and boom, 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 boom. Otherwise, that's what causes Alzheimer's, dementia, degeneration in the brain, is because you're not actively doing something new. And so with this friend, we were talking, and I said, I know it's not easy because essentially you're a workaholic and that's what you do and that's what you're used to. So it's hard for your mind to slow down and rest because that's a foreign thing to you. And this is anybody out there that's a workaholic or has trouble with the busy, overactive mind. I'm over here speaking from my experience, that when your mind doesn't want to give you rest because it feels like it needs to be productive, and this is especially true for men, you feel like you need to be able to contribute something. Women are no different, but men especially, in the sense that if you don't pick up something else to contribute to, then you are left feeling empty-handed. You feel like this is what leads to depression, is because you have lost the zest for life, where you were giving something and getting that in return, because when you give, you get. When you contribute, that is your pleasure return. And again, the oxytocin, all the beautiful healthy hormones that you get as a result of being a part of something. That if you don't set yourself up for something like that on the flip side of retirement, and condition yourself as you're getting ready to transition, then that in itself will be the leading cause of your depression. So this friend, I said, you really need to start getting used to rest and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to find something that gives you the same joy in what feels like a more restful way. Now, I'm not saying you have to sleep. I'm not talking about laying down and resting in that way, because that's what people think. Like you have to be lazy. When the word rest comes into play, people think you're lazy. No, it could be something as nice as playing golf or playing chess or going for a walk or a bike ride, because you still need something that stimulates your mind, something that brings you joy, whatever it is for you. You need to find your new routine, your new hobby, because that's for you in this next phase of your life, and not look forward to just being retired. Because if all you are is retired, it's funny to hear that word. Think about it. Retired. You became tired again. Became tired again. Is a repeat, right? So now you're tired again. I mean, it's almost reinforcing the exhaustion and overwhelm of all you've done and put into in the life, when in reality, you still got a whole lot of living to do. So it's not like you're done living in this life. So consider that if you were somebody who is coming up upon retirement or any type of major life change where you're not sure what's on the other side, you need to start looking for what brings you joy, because whatever it is that brings you joy is also going to carry you through in the next phase of your life. So when you start implementing it and adding it to your life, when you're in the transition, instead of cold turkey from one thing to the other, you're going to be a lot better off. All right, so I want to show you what I've been taking. So this is magnesium glycinate. And the reason I like magnesium glycinate is because it delivers the magnesium to your cells and not just make you gotta go to the bathroom. So it delivers the magnesium on a cellular level so that your body can assimilate it and relax the muscles and the rest of your body. And when your body is able to, because we're all depleted in magnesium, first off. And so we need this for the rest. We need this for the muscles to rebound and repair. Now, the other thing, Arnica montana, these are really beneficial. This is homeopathy, but it's for internal healing and bleeding. So what I do, because you do 5 of these little pellets, 3, 4. This is a weird It took me a while to figure out how to use this. It's so funny. You have to turn it and it comes out a little hole so that you can count 5 of them. You put them under your tongue, you let them dissolve, and it helps. The other thing is really good is bromelain or pineapple. I have some juices downstairs. All the juices that I'm drinking came from Escape Route in Dunedin, Florida. So if you're in the Dunedin area or Clearwater, go over to Escape Route because they make so much lovely food, smoothie bowls, coffees are amazing, matcha. If you follow me, then you know I spend a lot of my time there. And I have stocked up for this week, and then I've already put in my order for the next week. And I'm doing everything from lemon ginger shots, because lemon and ginger are good for the healing, the vitamin C, for the belly. Turmeric, which is also good for the inflammation, turmeric shots, which also has pineapple in it. My favorite is the apple spice. It's kind of similar to a lemonade, and there's apple in it, but it has the lemon and the ginger and some spice as well. I also have green elephant, which has apple, celery, I think parsley, cucumber. It's really yummy. The celery detox, which has beets, carrots, I think apple, celery, parsley. I think that's what's in that one. Magic Mermaid, which is amazing, one of my favorites, has the pineapple juice, E3 Live, and I forgot what else is in that one. But anyway, those are all the juices that I've been getting, and it's helping. I haven't been drinking as much of just plain water.